Ethan Ward had never planned to become a father. He was a simple engineer working on the outer colonies, fixing atmospheric processors, and keeping life support systems running on mining outposts that most people forgot existed. His life was predictable, quiet and utterly alone until the day he found her. The distress beacon had been faint, barely registering on his scanner as he conducted routine maintenance on Outpost Kepler 9. Following the signal led him to a crashed escape pod, half buried in red sand, its hull scorched and cracked. Inside, wrapped in shimmering fabric that seemed to shift colors in the dim light, was a child. She couldn't have been more than 3 years old, with large luminescent eyes that reflected the stars themselves, and skin that bore a faint, silvery sheen. No identification, no guardians, no explanation. Ethan reported the find to Colonial Administration, filled out the paperwork, and waited. Weeks turned into months. The child, whom he'd temporarily named Lyra after the constellation visible from his quarters, remained unclaimed. The bureaucrats told him she was likely a refugee from one of the border conflicts, that her people were, probably dead, that she'd be processed through the system eventually. But Ethan looked into those ancient, knowing eyes and saw something that bureaucrats never could. He saw a child who needed someone to care. So he did what any decent human would do. He adopted her. The early years were challenging. Lyra didn't speak any known language, and her physiology was unlike anything in the medical databases. She didn't eat normal food at first, subsisting on a strange luminescent paste Ethan had to synthesize from minerals. She glowed faintly when she dreamed, and sometimes small objects would float near her when she was emotional. But Ethan never wavered. He learned her needs through trial and error, teaching her standard galactic while she taught him patience. He read her human stories about brave knights and clever scientists, watched her eyes widen at tales of Earth's oceans and forests. He showed her how to fix circuits and calculate trajectories, proud when she grasped concepts faster than he could teach them. By the time Lyra turned 12, she was entirely human in all the ways that mattered. She wore her hair in a messy ponytail, complained about homework, and had decorated her room with posters of human rock bands and mathematical equations. The silvery sheen of her skin had faded somewhat, or perhaps Ethan simply no longer noticed it. She was his daughter, and he loved her more than he'd ever thought possible. "Dad, I got accepted into the Colonial Engineering Academy." Lyra burst into his workshop one afternoon, waving a datapad triumphantly. At 15, she stood almost as tall as Ethan, her features settling into an elegant beauty that turned heads wherever they went. Ethan grinned, pulling her into a hug that lifted her feet off the ground. "That's my girl. I knew you could do it." "I learned from the best," she said, her voice warm with affection. Life was good. Life was simple. Life was everything Ethan had never dared to hope for. Then, on Lyra's 16th birthday, everything changed. The ship appeared without warning, in Kepler 9's orbit, a vessel so massive it eclipsed the system's sun, its hull crafted from materials that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could properly perceive. Colonial defense scrambled, but before they could even arm weapons, a single shuttle detached and landed precisely outside Ethan's modest HAB unit. The woman who emerged was breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure. She stood over 7 feet, tall, her skin radiating soft silver light, her eyes containing entire galaxies. She wore robes that flowed like liquid starlight, and the air itself seemed to bend around her presence. Behind her stood an honor guard of beings that made humanity's greatest warriors look like children playing with sticks. "I am Empress Celestara of the Astral Dominion," the woman announced, her voice resonating with power that made Ethan's bones vibrate. "I have come for my daughter." Ethan stepped protectively in front of Lyra, his heart hammering but his voice steady. "Your daughter? Lyra is my daughter. I found her. I raised her." The Empress's expression softened almost imperceptibly. 16 years ago, assassins attacked my royal convoy. To save her life, I placed my only child in an escape pod and launched her toward the nearest inhabited system. I have spent every moment since eliminating the conspiracy and searching for her. And you, Ethan Ward, have done what I could not. You gave her a childhood. You gave her love. Lyra stood frozen, her world fracturing. Behind her, Ethan felt her trembling. "I don't understand," Lyra whispered. I'm a princess? An empress's daughter?" Celestara moved forward with liquid grace, and Ethan reluctantly stepped aside. The empress knelt before Lyra, bringing their eyes level. "You are Lyravel Celestia, heir to the astral dominion, a realm spanning 3,000 systems. Your blood carries power ancient and terrible, and you are loved beyond measure by the man who calls himself your father." Tears streamed down Lyra's face. "But I don't want to leave. This is my home. He's my dad." The Empress looked at Ethan with something resembling respect. "I came prepared to take my daughter, to reclaim what was stolen from me. But I see now that nothing was stolen. She was given something I could never provide, the freedom to be simply a child." She stood, addressing Ethan directly. "You are a remarkable being, Ethan Ward. Your species fascinates me. Such brief lives, yet such capacity for love." "What happens now?" Ethan asked, fighting to keep his voice from breaking. Celestara smiled, and it transformed her alien features into something almost warm. "Now we negotiate. My daughter has 2 families, 2 worlds. I propose she splits her time, learning her heritage and her responsibilities with me, but always returning home to you. And perhaps—" She paused, thoughtful. "Perhaps there is much your species could teach mine about what truly matters." Ethan looked at Lyra, seeing both the little girl he'd found and the extraordinary being she was becoming. "The choice is yours, sweetheart. Always." Lyra threw her arms around Ethan, holding him tight. Then she turned to Celestara, standing taller. "I have conditions." Both adults smiled at her fierce tone. "My father comes with me when I visit. He's part of this. And you're going to fund his engineering projects because he's brilliant and nobody appreciates him enough. And I'm still going to the academy because I earned that spot." The Empress laughed, a sound like crystal chimes. "You have your mother's spirit. Very well, Princess. All of this shall be done." As the unlikely trio stood beneath alien stars, the galaxy shifted slightly on its axis. Humanity had done something no species had managed in millennia. They'd taught an empress that power wasn't everything, and that sometimes the greatest strength was simply choosing to love. And Ethan Ward, simple engineer from Earth, had changed everything without ever trying to be anything more than a good father.